Broadcasting stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here's your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on this Tuesday. It is December the 7th, and so we must remember it was 80 years ago, that day in infamy when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, changing forever Pearl Harbor, really changing forever the way this world was. And for those who are still around, and of course we are getting less and less who were there for that day in infamy, we always thank them for their service and what they and their families went through. What an amazing streak the Grizzlies are having. Since the jaw injury, they have started 5 games. They have never been behind in any of those 5 games. They go wire to wire last night, wire to wire for the 5th straight time. I don't know if that's the best ever in the history of the NBA or not. I think it is.
I believe it is. The closest they've been to losing was tied 2-2 last night against the Miami Heat.
Never been behind since Ja Morant got hurt. Their defense was outstanding. I'll talk more about that in a second. So the Tigers are going to Hawaii. We all know that. I really kind of thought, the Tigers were getting jobbed. They're letting this 6-7 team in because they added another bowl game like at the last second. It was like, we need programming. We lost a couple of bowls. Let's just add one. There's not enough teams to go. Don't worry. We'll put Hawaii in Hawaii. They got 6 wins anyway. We can make that work. And so really the Tigers are on the road in a place where Hawaii usually is pretty good. This Hawaii team's not that good, really. And they lost their quarterback. They lost their best running back because they didn't think they were going to a bowl, so they all entered the portal. I don't think you can take back your portal. If you say
the portal rules.
If you say you're in, goodbye. You can't come back. Wow.
It's kind of like a black hole, it seems like.
Maybe so. That's a good way to put it. It is a black hole for some. I mean, there's more people in the portal than there are places to go. Pretty much. Some people don't get it. The grass is always greener. But anyway, The Tigers are favorites in that game, and probably a lot of it has to do with the fact they're going to start a quarterback who's the true freshman. He's played some. He had like 650 yards. He's already faced Seth Hennigan. They played each other in whatever their class is in Texas for the state championship, and Hennigan beat him 17-7. Hope he beats him again. We still don't know about Calvin. Calvin's presence in that game will really, really go a long way. The Tigers hoops opportunity on Friday will be Murray State. People are going, Murray State, now you better win that game. Well, yeah, you've got to win that game for sure. But let me just say this to you. I haven't seen a line on it yet, but I've seen a net. The net ranking for the Tigers is lower, not as good as Murray State's current net. Murray State's 7-1. I haven't seen all the particulars yet, but I looked at that net, and it's been an interesting few days for Penny. It started with him in church tweeting for prayers for everybody. I love that he's including everybody in that. I really do. I worry a little bit though when we're at this kind of a measure. He took responsibility last night for the lack of team chemistry, and he should have, and I appreciate it. That's the one thing about Penny, is he's always blunt, he's always honest, he is to the point. Sometimes not being political gets you in trouble. Sometimes that honesty can be to the detriment. And that was really, truly how he felt about those veteran players. And he reiterated it. You'll see it Sunday night on the TV show, which we tape on Mondays. He's sticking to his guns that older players have to welcome newer players. They have to take them under their wings like big brother to little brother. It's interesting to me. This has not been brought up, so I'm bringing it up first. The name, image, likeness, the NIL, I think plays a role in all of this. The two guys who are making the most money from the NIL on the Memphis team, I don't know where the money comes from. I'm not saying that. But I did ask Penny if there's any issues with that. And he goes, could be. When your two freshmen who've done nothing come in and make more money than the guys that were the NIT champs, I think that helps create this tension, this lack of chemistry, especially if you're saying, you know what, if he keeps getting all the touches, I'm never going to have that chance to get in that position. This is something, and I want to talk with Mike DeCourcy a little bit later in the program about that, how it's been established, so you're not going back and somebody that you aren't worried about leaving or whatever, you're not trying to entice him. You're trying to entice the guy coming in because he's going to be the key guy for the next couple of years, you hope, right? So they're getting to get the NIL. This is going to be an issue that I think is going to be around for a while, or at least in the very beginning, because once you've established your NIL as a freshman, if you stick around, you probably, if you're successful, will keep it. So maybe that won't be as big an issue. But I think it is an issue right now for sure. And then last night's Monday Night Football game. What a crazy game.
Great game. I mean, we saw the wing tee last night. I mean, you saw everything. It was like old school football.
Yeah, I almost, with all these, two high safeties or one high safety and spread offenses, how everybody's backed up and they're taking 8 yards away and all this other stuff. I'm almost amazed that we haven't gone to this. So, because the game always evolves, right? So offenses are way ahead now. Defenses have to figure out something, and they started with this basically 3-man front and dropping an extra defensive back, right, to take away all this passing. So what does Bill Belichick do in a game with a 50-mile-an-hour gust, which is totally erratic? I mean, it would go from like 20 miles to 50 miles. You couldn't figure out when thing was going to come up. It's 30, I think it was like 34 degrees or 35 degrees, but it felt like 23 because that wind was making it so cold. He just says, to heck with trying to pass this football. Just to heck with it. I'm going to run the football. And what he does is he brings in a 6th offensive lineman. Sometimes he was playing 2 tight ends with that and just saying, we're running the ball, stop us. And for a long time, and Sean McDermott is really getting blasted in his own hometown and all across the country for not making adjustments. He probably should have brought more linebackers up. He maybe could have gone with an extra defensive lineman because they've got 6 guys that are offensive linemen and 2 tight ends, and they're saying we're running the ball. They threw 3 passes.
And he was mad that his reporters, the Bills reporters, were giving Bill Belichick too much credit after the game. He's like, don't give him more credit than he deserves for this game. What are we talking about?
He won the game. And there were a lot of drops in that game, and I really can't blame, I don't think, the receivers because – honestly, the ball was like a knuckleball. There was one kick, the Buffalo kicker, I forget his name, missed a kick, and it looked like a knuckleball. It really did. One he made that looked like a knuckleball. Every kick was an adventure, that's for sure. You're talking about 50-mile gusts. You don't know. And that was this guy from Buffalo. And he's not one of the top 5 or 6, but he's a good kicker. He has not missed a kick either this year or several years that's closer than 51.
Tyler Bass. And he missed one last night from about, 35? Something like that. Yeah. That missed right, but it started in the middle, and the wind just took it, and it started knuckling, and it was crazy. Crazy. So now, here's New England, and you know what? As much as I hate to say this, considering where they were picked, where they finished last year, Buffalo being so strong, Bill Belichick has to be – he's the number 1 seed now in the AFC. He's got to be considered for Coach of the Year. There's just no way around it. How about Belichick
versus Brady in a Super Bowl. That could happen.
That's what we're looking for.
That could absolutely happen. One last thing, and then we have a special early guest today. You know we always have Jeff Moore to put a bow on Week 13. Then we've got Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, coming your way, and I got lots to ask him about. But Steve Earhart from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl is going to join us about what I'm calling the Mike Leach game. Because it's Texas Tech, where he really started the Tech turnaround, and it's Mississippi State, where Leach now is. We'll get to that in a second. One thing, though. I meant to mention this yesterday because my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, which I met many, many, many years ago. The passing of Claude Humphrey, who was truly the pride of Binghamton. He passed away, and it was unexpectedly, at the age of 77. He played with the Atlanta Falcons, played in a Super Bowl with Philly. He played in 6 Pro Bowls. Before they had sack numbers, he was the sack man. So this is way before Reggie White or any of those. This is so they went back, and he says they didn't count enough, but that he had 130 sacks in 13 years. He went to Tennessee State, and he was a great basketball player at Leicester High School. I've heard, like Leonard Draper, talk about when you talk about the great athletes, even the great basketball players of Memphis, you've got to include Claude Humphrey, who was a big guy, right? And he was a big man, and he was so strong and powerful you couldn't stop him. He made the right decision because he had made a great living and had a great life as an NFL player. But he was that good as a basketball player. So when you had guys like Bingo Smith and these great players in the black community, when black didn't even play white, Claude Humphrey was one of those guys. So he was really good at so many things. At Tennessee State, he went 35-3-1. They won 2, I guess, national it's now called historically black college. I forget what the total title was back then for that. But they won 2 national titles from the historically black colleges. He made the Hall of Fame for the NFL in 2014. We inducted him in the Memphis Hall of Fame in 2019. There's a sports complex in Binghamton that is named after him. Truly a wonderful, wonderful guy. Every time I ever saw him, and I saw him like back in the 80s, I don't know if he had a daughter that played for the U of M, but he would come to the women's games. And, people would just electrically kind of draw to him the magnetism in there. Great family, great guy. Claude Humphrey passing away. What a great life at the age of 77. This portion of the show brought to you by Family Leisure. We're in the Family Leisure studios. I'm urging you to get to I-40 and Whidden Road because that is where you'll find arcades up to 25% off. It's the Christmas sale. They got air hockey and foosball tables. They started, believe it or not, under $150. A quality air hockey thing for under $150. I'm so enticed to get one. Pool tables, and they're state-of-the-art there. Shuffleboard tables, they're in stock. They're ready for delivery. There's great deals on hot tubs and saunas. Even the trampolines have 20% off. All you've got to do is get there. And no, you better set up your delivery date because the schedule is filling up fast. Get it before Christmas. That's I-40 and Whidden Road. Family Leisure, where the Christmas holidays and all the family comes together. We go cross town to our friend from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Steve Earhart joins us now. Have you spoken with Mike Leach since he got the gig?
I haven't spoken to him directly. I've been dealing with their fine athletic director, John Cohn, but he's actually in the state of Texas recruiting, stealing those Texas players to come to Mississippi State. And, of course, he's trolling Texas Tech. There's some great rivalries. Certainly your listeners know about how when Mike Leach and the big blow-up down there at Texas Tech with Craig James' son, and then the lawsuits up and down to the Supreme Court of the state of Texas, and then already the great Bell battle here because, as you know, we've allowed the Mississippi State fans to bring their bells into the stadium, and that's sometimes not usual for them. So there's a big run on bells now all over the state of Mississippi.
Can I ask you something? I don't want to get you accused of insider information, but there is a rumor that you cornered the bell market.
I know. I wish I had a, but because I remembered back in 2007 when the SEC had band bowls, and I said, okay, you can bring them to our game, and that those fans who came to that 2007 game when Sylvester Croom was Coach of the Year, and there were more bells. It was the loudest stadium I think maybe ever in history when they played in '07, and then again in '13 when a young man was kind of his coming out party named Dak Prescott as a junior was our most valuable player, and the bells were there, but the Texas Tech has a big bell that they ring, and then of course they have a tradition, and I have not seen it in person ever. Maybe Dave, you guys have seen it, but when
I heard about
kickoff,
this.
The Texas Tech fans throw tortillas on the field, so we're braced for a run on tortillas here in the Memphis area. But what a great matchup is going to be! All the rivalry games, and don't sleep on Texas Tech. We watched them the last few games of the year. Remember they beat Iowa State, and Iowa State was rated very highly, and they were playing against Baylor at Baylor the last game of the year, and they missed the field goal to tie it right at the final gun there.
Right.
So Texas Tech with Sonny Cumbie and the coaching relationship. Sonny Cumbie is almost like the protege coming back to the sensei master there with Mike Leach, because remember Sonny was a walk-on player at Texas Tech back when Coach Leach was there, and he coached him up to become an All-American and set their bowl records, had 4,000 yards passing his senior year. And those are our AutoZone Libertyville fans. Remember, Sonny was an assistant coach here when TCU was here a few years ago against Georgia. So there's a great rivalry, and we really expect a terrific crowd. So I want to have all the Memphis folks come out. ESPN moved us to prime time. We kick off at 5:45 p.m. on the 28th. So we're looking for a lot of great hospitality here in Memphis. So let's roll out the red carpet for these two teams. One thing that I did not know until this last week is that these two universities have not played each other since 1970, 51 years ago. And guess who played in that game for Mississippi State? He happens to be an AutoZone Liberty Bowl board member. A lot of your listeners will know him. And Dave, he played he was a guard for Mississippi State in that 1970 game.
Jan Gwynn.
There you go. See, you've got that great steel trap mind. Jan Gwynn was a starting guard, and he remembers every time. He said they had to give up a 2-point conversion. He said the game was in Lubbock, and Mississippi State won that game. So here are two universities that haven't played for over 50 years. Great rivalries with the coaches, and then, quite frankly, I was very concerned the week before. Well, actually, I guess it was last week, and leading into the first part of the week, we were getting the word that maybe the two universities were not going to allow the teams to play against each other because of what has gone on in the past, with the suits. And, of course, right. I think Coach Leach, I don't want to quote him, but I think he's been on record saying he would die before he would give up the fight to get his pay, from the whole rivalry. So, yeah.
Give me liberty or give me death, but give me my cash.
Right. But, yeah, so I think it's going to be a really great, fun night. Oh. So we really want people to get out there and get their tickets.
I think the Sonny Cumbie story, you mentioned it, the walk-on it's the student against the teacher. But more than that, there's another side to that story, is that Cumbie actually has been named the head coach at Louisiana Tech. So he's working two jobs, but wanted to stay on, I think, because he really wanted to face Mike Leach. So this should be a whole lot of fun. I got a good idea for you, too. So you were talking about it's the battle for the bell because the cowbells, and they got a bell, and we got tortillas, right, that are going to be thrown out. Doesn't matter who kicks it off. Just the very first kickoff, tortillas will be in the air. I think Taco Bell has to be your sponsor for this.
Oh, there
Taco
you go,
Bell.
David. You got some great ideas. We got to put in a call right now as the official tortilla sponsor. That's a great idea, Dave. You're always thinking of me.
There you go.
I'm glad to hear that.
I think Taco Bell would just jump on this one, right? I mean, you make a big deal of it on national TV, they'll go for it. I think it's the way to go.
Okay, well, I know that's great, but yeah, and again. One thing that Memphis does such a great job is rolling out the red carpet and the hospitality. We're in battles with all the other cities, the bowls. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl is the 7th oldest bowl game, but now there's 42 bowl games, and they just added an doggone new bowl last week to make sure and take care of Hawaii.
How can they do that? How can they do that?
Well, what happened was the Red Box Bowl, which was the bowl game that was approved and was supposed to be played in San Francisco, they couldn't get their act together with the stadium and so on. So they basically went dark this year. So that left a hole. And of course, ESPN, the all-powerful ESPN, they said, well, we've got a stadium down there in Frisco, down there in the Dallas area, and there was going to be teams left out, and quite frankly, Hawaii would not have been able to play the University of Memphis, and so they put together a game. I'll call it a game. They won't probably have all the bowl activities and events that we have at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, but it gave the opportunity for Hawaii to play Memphis, and then also, I can't remember, was it Akron, one of the teams from the MAC who was going to have to sit at home. So, but yeah, that's why we need to make sure that we send the message that when you come to Memphis, there's great hospitality, and we treat the teams and the fans with great respect. And then what also happens too, and this is a message to all of the listeners, is that these folks will come back. Texas Tech has never been in our game. They have a big alumni base in the Dallas area, coming back to the east. And so I think if we get a lot of these people down here and enjoy the amenities, enjoy Beale Street, then they'll come back in the summertime. That happened several years ago with Arkansas, with so many thousands of people that had never been to Memphis and had a great time at the bowl game. So it's really important that everybody here in Memphis, and again, we've never had any problems with people are so kind and hospitable here in the Memphis area.
All right, it's going to be a great one. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl moved to 5:45 on the 28th. The Mike Leach Showdown. The Battle of the Bells. I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you, Steve.
Well, and we're going to get Dave. You're in charge of the tortilla deal, so I want to make sure that
I'll be happy
you
to
get that lined up for us.
I'll be happy. I want to do that for you. I really do. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. That is Big Cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. He's brought to you in part by the Eflin Insurance Team, a real team, and they have a unique way of making sure they protect you and your family. They get to know you. That's simple. Matt sits you down, gets to know you, then figures out whatever you may need in terms of protection and what budget you have. It's a perfect fit every time. He's got a whole team that will work with you, and they've got access to all the leading companies to find the perfect home or auto or life insurance policy for you. And let's not forget commercial insurance, too. He's got folks ready, standing by. They got unlimited access to programs for small to mid-sized businesses. That's their niche, and they take care of you. Same thing. Sit you down, get to know you, match what your needs are with your budget, and voila, you're protected. Call, and he's a big Tiger fan because in his phone number is GRR. For Tigers, 901-386-4777. That's the number for the Eflin Insurance Team. Back in just a minute, we'll put a wrap on a very interesting week 13 in the National Football League. Jeff Moore is right around the corner.
Hi, everyone. This is Greg Gaston. After 16-plus years coming to you during the midday hours, Eli Savoy and I have moved to the morning drive. You can join us weekdays from 7 to 10 a.m. for the all-new Sports 56 mornings, only on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Tire pressure light on? Tread low? Car sliding when you stop? It's time to go down to Milton on the Spot. Serving you at 3 locations, 1684 Getwell Road, 2127 Ellis Presley, and 3691 North Watkins. Memphis' largest supply of new and used tires, all under warranty. Yes, that's warranty on used tires too. Ask about the tire rotation and balance specials. Milton on the Spot on Getwell Road, Elvis Presley, or North Watkins. Here to take care of your every tire need. Milton on the Spot.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors for 35 years. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. You can meet with an InventHelp representative who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. And InventHelp's databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to review new ideas.
Call 800-217-4380. That's 1-800-217-4380.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Homer Skelton is our title sponsor, along with Genesis of Olive Branch. Same location right there on the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78. It's the very first exit in Mississippi. See why they have set the standard for the way car business should be done. And Jeff Moore, brought to you in part by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a big decision. You're either building that dream home you've been thinking about for a long, long time, or, maybe you want just modern amenities in that older home. You like the location. You love really where you are. It just feels like an old shoe, but you want the California closets, and you want those granite countertops, and you want the speakers in the wall. You want the video room. Okay, he'll do that for you. He knows exactly how to do it. I call it renovation with innovation. I mean, listen, he and his dad, 50 years of building and renovating all around the Memphis area. Please go to kengarland.com. You'll see exactly what I am talking about. And then give him a call, because he's an interesting guy. He's one of those rare individuals, sees little details and big picture all at the same time. So call him. Pick his brain, 751-1632. Maybe you're looking for land. He's got it. Maybe you don't know how to utilize the land for that dream home. He knows. He's got the knowledge. He's really cool. And nothing is finished until everything is perfect in your eyes. 751-1632. That's the number for Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. What a weird game it was last night, Jeff Moore. I'll bet as a former player, it's one of those few times where you said, man, I'm glad I'm not playing out there in that weather.
Absolutely. The wind is brutal. It's not a whole lot a receiver can do under those circumstances. It's one of those times when you just appreciate the heaters on the sideline.
Now, there is a bunch of social media criticism today for Sean McDermott, because he did not make quick adjustments to the way last night the Patriots just ran the football with 6 offensive linemen and 2 tight ends and just said, stop us. And he didn't figure that out until late in the game.
Yeah, and, he has to be criticized for that. I mean, I one would expect when the Patriots made it clear that's what their game plan was, that they would adjust, and they didn't. And it cost them. Then, of course, they had some opportunities in the red zone that they didn't take advantage of that could have made a difference in the game, too. So, they've just got some things they've got to correct for the next time they meet the Patriots. But it certainly was one at home that they could have and should have played better and had a better opportunity to win.
No doubt about that. Well, what's your favorite story of this week? Maybe it is the Patriots, now the number 1 seed in the AFC, and everything seems to be coming together for Bill Belichick, who at this point would be the coach of the year in the AFC for sure, wouldn't he?
I think that's a true statement. Nobody saw the Patriots doing what they've done so far this year. As a matter of fact, we probably all were kind of riding the Buffalo Bills train as far as the AFC was concerned. If not the Chiefs, certainly the Buffalo Bills. And, here come the Patriots playing great defense, being effective with a rookie quarterback. We didn't see that coming, and you have to give them credit. They've got a good winning streak going. They're playing good mistake-free football, and that's what it takes to be successful, especially as you get into December and the playoffs.
In the NFC, it's interesting, but everybody who's a real player here played well. Cowboys knocked off the Saints on Thursday. Cardinals did get Kyler Murray there, picked on my poor Bears, and I don't think they had too much to sweat out there. And the Buccaneers had their way in Atlanta with the Falcons by almost 2 touchdowns. You look at this year, and you would have to say, the most of We got so much parity going on. But if I'm looking for an NFC story, I'm looking at Ron Rivera in Washington. They're in the playoffs right now, and they knock off the Raiders in Vegas last week.
Yeah, I think this Redskins team is really a team to watch in the NFC because, they've kind of flown under the radar, but they just play a really, really tough brand of football, and they've got a chance. I mean, they're right knocking on the door behind the Cowboys now and playing with a lot of confidence. It's going to be interesting to see how they play. They play each other still. I think they have 2 games against each other.
I think
with the remainder of the season.
Let me double check, but I think they play this week, don't they? Yeah, they play.
You might be right. Yeah,
they play in Washington. That is a noon game Central Time, and the Cowboys are only 4-point favorites. Now, if we'd gone into the year and we knew that Dak Prescott would be healthy and everything else, and you were just based on last year's sort of look, you would have said the Cowboys would be 8-point favorites, 10-point favorites in that game. Ron Rivera's got that culture going right.
He does. A very scrappy defensive team and a very, very conservative offensive team that doesn't make mistakes. They're very competitive, and this will be a good test to see who's going to end up taking that NFC East.
I think the other team that is interesting to me is the Chiefs. They have rallied. They are back. I think their defense is so much improved. Their offense wasn't quite as good. Patrick Mahomes is not quite as good a player as he'd been the last couple of years, yet here they are, still winners of leading in that division.
Yeah, I think you have to give credit for the way that they're playing. I really like what I'm seeing from that team, and they've gotten on a good little winning streak. You got to believe that offense is going to kick in at some point. They still don't seem to have figured that part out, but a surprise, as you said, is that defense is playing so much better than they were playing earlier in the season, and really responsible for them keeping a respectable position in the AFC. If that offense, or when that offense kicks back into gear, then you're going to see a formidable Chief team that teams don't want to necessarily face because of their playoff experience as we get deeper into this part of the season.
All right, there's only 4 to 5 games left, so the playoff picture starts to clear up a little bit. So I'm going to give you 6 teams, okay? 3 from each division. They're the wild cards. In the AFC, it's Buffalo, Cincinnati, and the LA Chargers. In the NFC, at the moment, it's the Niners, the Washington football team, and the Rams. Of those 6 teams, which team will make the second round? Or teams?
I believe the Chargers are trending pretty good at this point. We'll have to see if they can keep it going offensively, defensively. And then I think the Rams, with the experienced players that they have, if they can just continue to play better and mistake-free, I like their chances as well.
You're just an L.A. homer because that's where you played. Come on. The Rams and the Chargers. What about the Bengals? Any hope for Joe Burrow and Mixon?
They've been a little inconsistent here lately, and that's a challenge for a team that just is not accomplished or not accustomed to having the kind of success that they've had so far this season. I think they're a formidable team, but I think with the teams that you mentioned, I kind of like the way the Chargers are trending a little bit better than the Bengals at this point. That could change, easily in 2 or 3 weeks from now.
Sure.
But as we speak right now, absolutely.
All right, last thing for our former Ram and our former Vol, and it's away from the NFL, it is that Josh Heupel is staying. There probably was a little flirtation with Oklahoma, but they were certainly going to go in a different direction, and they did go with another former assistant, but on the other side of the ball in Venables from the Clemson Tigers, and he's sort of their architect of their defense, so they go in a little different route. Heupel stays. Is that something you're really pleased with?
I am pleased. I think that he's elevated the respect for the Tennessee football program. They've been more competitive, and certainly offensively, they've been a team that defenses have had to be concerned about. I like the trend that he has this program going in, and I'm glad that we were able to retain him.
I think, honestly, I think he's going to get it done. I watched his offenses at Missouri. I thought they were good. I watched him at UCF, and I loved that scheme. And he's doing this at Tennessee before he's really gotten all the personnel that he wants in. And that is a comforting – if I were a Vol fan, I'd be really comfortable with all of that, thinking, okay, he's going to stay and wait till he gets his guys in. I think that it works in the SEC. It worked in Missouri. So I think for the long run, and the program needed it. It would have been the sixth new coach since Fulmer if he had left.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we needed some stability, absolutely. So hopefully he can keep it moving in the right direction. Excited about the prospects of a bowl game, for which we haven't had in a while, and I think he's got us trending in the right direction.
Outstanding. We'll talk to you next week. It'll be week 14. We're coming down the stretch, Jeff Moore.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. That is Jeff Moore on the National Football League. He's brought to you by Old Dominick Distillery. You know, they have a couple of really cool things right in the heart of downtown. If you're looking for something different and you really appreciate spirits, and we talk a bunch about them on this show, I'm appreciative of it. They actually have a tour of their distillery. It's the only one in town that I know of at 305 South Front Street in the heart of downtown Memphis. We got plenty of brew pubs. We know that. This is a distillery where you will learn about the history, and the founder way, way, way back was Domenico Canali, who came to this country with nothing and built this empire. Then you get a lesson, really, of how they do the craft of distilling, and it goes from grain to glass. It's really cool. And then it ends with a curated tasting of all the Old Dominick portfolio of spirits. Visit OldDominick.com. You'll find out tour availability and distillery tours. And know, by the way, that if you can't make the tour, you still want to try the products, Memphis's spirit shops all over the place have Old Dominick on their shelves, and they remind everybody, share a sip of pure Memphis with your hometown brand Old Dominick and do it responsibly. We take this quick timeout. When we come back, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy on college basketball when we return.
You have opinions?
The knowledge that I have matters.
We want to hear them. Call or text us on the AutoZone listener line at 360-8255. That's the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Getaway Sports Bar, the best kept secret in town, open noon to 1:30 a.m. 7 days a week. Garvin, the owner, created this SEC NFL Dream Bar over 20 years ago. You'll never miss a minute of action. 10 TVs, 5 70-inch TVs for all the big games. Rack them up on 6 pool tables. Coldest beer in town, grab you a pool stick and get you some good bar grub. 100% Angus burgers, big and moist chicken tenders. Daily happy hour Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. with long neck domestics, 225 Getaway Sports Bar, 4632 Winchester.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Need to sell your home? You're in luck because I buy houses. All you have to do is call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that PIN, 901-406-1101, or just save it in your phone. Bill at I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses buys houses in any area, in any condition, at any time. As simple as that. I Buy Houses is guaranteed to close in 5 days. So if you need your cash fast, just call Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. Has your house been on the market? Were you just tired of renters? Or is it just time to start over? Well, avoid repairing, cleaning, painting, and prepping your house. Just pick up the phone and call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses. If you're in Southwind, South Memphis, North Mississippi, North Memphis, Collierville, if you can hear this, just call my friend Bill at I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101.
So this was going to encourage everybody to get ribs for people as stocking stuffers. But? Well, I was listening to your show.
Oh, really?
Sure, I listen every day, seething with jealousy. But I heard one of your spots that had the code word big head.
Yeah, that's right.
I always thought you were probably sensitive about the big head thing.
No. I accept that I have a big head.
Huge.
Maybe we should just get back to Central Barbecue.
Well, I'm going to get back to the whole Central Barbecue makes the perfect holiday gift. But seriously, look at that pumpkin.
Let's just...
I mean, that thing could have its own weather system.
Okay, we get it. Let's get back to...
I know. Central Barbecue gift cards are a great stocking stuffer. How the hell do you even buy hats?
I don't.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back into Indy. We go momentarily. Our Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy, will join us. He's brought to you in part by Conway, wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. They know at Conway, the timing's never right for you to have heating, cooling, or electrical issues. So during the holiday season, if you should find yourself in need of any of these services, just know Conway's already right there and ready to serve with financing options. They're available. During the month of December, Conway will offer their year-end heating system closeout for as low as $79 a month. New technology. That's right. They'll replace your heating system with Conway services by the end of the year for as low as $79 a month. And if that's not enough, they'll throw in the April Air Cleaner, a free programmable thermostat. It's state-of-the-art. And a 10-year parts warranty. And with Conway, you'll always get that award-winning service. All you got to do is make the call, 384-3511. Never been cheaper. What a good way to start your new year. Warm. 384-3511. Conway Services. Our Hall of Famer, Mike DeCourcy, joins us now. Chaos in college basketball. We know it's chaos with Memphis, that is for sure. And I did my math correctly, and I may be shortchanging this. I think since the original top 25 came out, at least 10 teams from that original top 10 have lost games or multiple games. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Hanging in there, man. I was making plans for Sweet 16s, and I don't know that I'm doing that anymore.
Yeah, it obviously every season is a journey, and lots of teams start out with great expectations and don't fulfill those, or with middling expectations, and all of a sudden there they are. I mean, UCLA, it started last year's tournament hoping just to win a game and get into the full bracket, so to speak, and look where they ended up. The chaos in the world at large, so to speak, is not surprising at all. As a matter of fact, when we talked on the eve of the season, I told you that the defining element of this season, at least as we entered, was the fact that almost everybody was assembling an entirely new group of players. Very few teams that were largely in place from a year ago. UCLA, yes. Villanova, pretty much. Purdue, entirely. But not very many of those. And a lot of teams like Michigan and Illinois and Memphis were ranked on what was believed could happen because of some who were holdovers, but also largely because of players who came in either through recruiting or through the transfer portal. And we've seen a lot of teams that Michigan struggled early on with the assimilation of their players, and we're seeing that really as profoundly as anywhere, right where you're sitting.
Yeah. Penny is never shy about being honest. He really isn't, and he's pointed the finger at his older guys for not welcoming the newer guys. The jealousy touches that they care more about that than they care about winning. And I have not seen this anywhere yet, and maybe it's unique to just Memphis with chemistry. But to me, the NIL plays a role in this. Penny would tell you that the two guys that have prospered the most at this point from the NIL are the two freshmen.
Right.
Although everybody is getting something. Like if you go buy a jersey at the Tiger bookstore and you pick up Jaden Hardaway, for example, or Tyler Harris, they're getting a share of it now. And that's the way it works. But those are the two guys that are really reaping the most benefit. And that's probably true everywhere in the country. And I'm wondering if that has been a factor in lack of chemistry on some teams. Like the TJ Otzelberger story at Iowa State, to me, is amazing. He took 6 new guys in, all from different schools, and have meshed them. They haven't lost a game. I mean, it's incredible how they play as a unit with chemistry right off the bat. And, Memphis is bringing all these guys back. They seem to have all the ingredients, youth and experience, and guys who won a title, albeit the NIT, a year ago, and they have no chemistry at this point.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is that Penny should have anticipated this and had a plan and had a structure and here's how we're going to deal with this, because this is not a new issue in Memphis basketball's history. When I was there and working for the Commercial Appeal, I wrote about it as a serious problem within not just the Tigers structure, but within the entire Memphis basketball community. I remember, and I won't name the players now, but I remember going to a high school basketball game where there were 2 established star players, one on each side, and one sort of a sleeper kind of player. And a family member for the sleeper player held up a sign at the game demeaning the 2 star established players, one from her child from her relative's own team.
Right.
So, I've never seen anything like it and haven't since. And so it's always been there. And Penny had personal experience with that himself. I don't need to go over what happened in when he was a junior, but he knows that it's there, and so he should have had a plan. And I did not see in the article that Seth Davis wrote any evidence that there was a plan that was ignored or failed. I think that he expected that this would be that this would just sort of work, and it hasn't. And part of the reason it hasn't worked is that. Part of the reason it hasn't worked is because they struggle at the position where you could make it work on the floor. And I think you're right that it doesn't help to have the NIL thing be such a disparity. But I think that these guys, as basketball players, had some of these issues a year ago, even before you had Imani Bates and Jalen Duren even part of the program.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not surprised that it's an issue again. It's disappointing because when you watch them play, honestly, some of the things that happened a year ago on the floor, actually, you added in new talented players that should make it easier, and it seems to have gotten harder. Landers Nolly is he's getting fewer good shots than he did a year ago when he was fighting so hard for shots that it hurt the team. He's getting even fewer now, and there should be so much more space out there for him. But you don't have an offensive flow or a system that's getting players like him the kind of shots that would alleviate those concerns.
He went back to an offensive set with more motion and screening that you could see. It was more successful at Georgia than it certainly was against Ole Miss the other day. Cody Toppert was on with Greg and Eli earlier this morning, and he talked about, and you've mentioned the point guard position so many times, and your point guard in that particular game And Penny is really prideful of this young man, Alex Lomax. And I thought he played okay. He gives everything he's got, but he had 4 turnovers in that game. And then Cody was telling us there were 3 pick and rolls that were right there for the giving to the big man Duran, who got 3 touches, and he missed all 3 of those. So those are the things that you have got to find, or you're not going, I guess, to get any better. Back to the modern problems. You're right. I was thinking about this, and I mentioned it to Penny on his TV show. Back in the day, your issues with chemistry were Penny was from Treadwell, and the 2 other stars that were really critical on the team were from East. And they didn't like each other because they were rivals in high school. They had to come together. Now it's a little different thing when there's money and you're thinking, well, if I don't get my touches, then I can't sell my fashion wear.
Yeah, but I like I said, even before NIL, if I don't get my touches or if I don't shine, I'm not going to get seen. And for all of these guys, there's professional basketball, specifically the NBA, but even the players who, I don't know how many of these there are, but even the ones who look at it and say, I'm probably not good enough for the NBA, but I can make money in this game. Even those guys, like, they need to shine. And some make it about touches, and that's where probably the greatest problem is, touches, shots, whatever. Mm-hmm. But even guys who just want to win understand that if they're more likely to have more opportunities if their team is successful. And so they get frustrated when things aren't working the way they need to work so that the Tigers can win. And so then the frustration comes out. And so I think those are all problems that, you've got the old school problems, you've got the new school problems, and you've got the newest school problems. And it's a more difficult field to navigate than it ever has been. And, I think Penny, I still think that there's enough there that they can figure it out. The problem is that in the league they're in and with the schedule they built, if they don't figure out those problems soon, if they figure it out tomorrow, say, well, you can still go out and beat Alabama, Tennessee, and okay, so you played bad, but you got 2 quality wins. You go in, you win your league regular season, you don't win the conference tournament, you're getting in, and then you're a danger because you got 2 pros, 3 pros, 4 pros, whatever the number is. So it's just there's so much urgency because of the nature of the schedule and the nature of the league in this particular season.
I've only got about 30 seconds. I could talk with you all day, as you know. You don't think in this modern world that running sprints during timeouts like they do at Arkansas Pine Bluff is going to work, do you?
No, because they're not. It's not even about effort necessarily with these guys because they still played hard on D for the most part. It's about finding a formula to make the basketball go where it needs to go, and whether that's personnel, whether it's selfishness, whether it's not having the right point guard and having covered for that, all those things, you've got to figure out that. Because if you figure out that, everything else is going to flow because they do have talented players.
Thank you, Mike. By the way, I learned something. I can't believe Purdue was never number 1 until this week. That's incredible.
Was not.
I read your story. We'll talk about that maybe next week. Thank you.
You bet.
That is Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. We thank Jeff Moore. We thank Steve Earhart. I didn't realize, that game was, I think, supposed to be 2:45, and they decided State and Tech so good they're going to move that AutoZone Liberty Bowl to 5:45 that day. That's good news. Go get your tickets. That'll do it for us. Johnny Radio is next. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.